The sun was dropping behind the horizon like a burning coin. I stood on the edge of the cliff on the far side of Koh Larn. The wind whipped my shirt against my sunburned skin. Below me, the waves crashed against the jagged rocks. White foam boiled and hissed. It was a long way down. A beautiful place to die. A stupid place to be left alive. I checked my pockets for the 100th time. Nothing. No wallet, no phone, no passport. Just sand and a receipt for a bottle of expensive whiskey I drank 3 hours ago. I looked out at the ocean toward the mainland. I could see the lights of Pattaya flickering in the distance. They looked like mockery. Somewhere in those lights was a woman named Boss. She had my money. She had the lease papers for the condo. And she had the last laugh. I was 35 years old. I was a man who thought he knew the score. I came here to find a wife who knew her place. I found a predator who knew my weakness. I swayed on the edge of the cliff. The alcohol was still swimming in my blood. It told me to jump. It told me it would be easier than the swim. I met her 3 weeks ago at the Jomtien Beach night market. The air was thick with the smell of grilled squid and diesel fumes. Russian tourists pushed past me with plates of ribs. Thai teenagers blasted hip-hop from portable speakers. It was sensory overload. I needed a drink to steady my nerves. I found a plastic table near a beer kiosk. I ordered a large Chang. I drank it fast. The cold liquid hit my empty stomach and gave me that familiar buzz. The liquid courage. The armor I wore to deal with the world. She was sitting at the next table. She was not wearing a short skirt. She was not wearing heels. She wore jeans and a polo shirt with a factory logo on the breast. Her hands were rough. Her nails were short and unpainted. She looked real. She looked like the anti-venom to the Western women who had divorced me and taken half my pension. I offered her a drink. She looked shy. She said she did not drink alcohol. She ordered a watermelon shake. We talked. Her English was broken but functional. She told me her name was Boss. A strange name for such a quiet girl. She said she worked in a factory in Rayong. 12-hour shifts, making air conditioner parts. She showed me a burn mark on her arm. I felt a surge of pity and power. I could save her. I could take her out of that factory and put her in a nice house. She would be grateful. She would be loyal. That was the trap. My own ego was the bait. We moved fast. That is how it works here. One day, you are strangers. The next day, you are planning a life. I rented a motorbike. We drove along the coast. I felt like a teenager again. The bitter taste of my divorce faded with every kilometer. I drank more when I was with her. I wanted to be the big man, the provider. I bought her clothes. I bought her gold. She accepted it with a bowed head. She called me handsome man. She called me clever man. But there were signs. Chekhov planted his guns early. First was the phone call. We were eating lunch in a noodle shop. Her phone rang. She answered in Thai. Her voice changed. It became hard, commanding. She spoke about documents and stamps. When she hung up, she told me it was her mother. She said they needed money for the rice harvest. I gave her 5,000 baht. She did not say thank you. She just put it in her purse like it was rent due. Second was the brochure. I found it in her bag. It was for a university in Bangkok, not a real one of those places that sells degrees for cash. I asked her about it. She said she wanted to study English, to talk to me better. I thought it was cute. I did not know she was shopping for a fake diploma to get a manager job. Third was the lease. I told her I wanted to stay in Thailand long term. I wanted to buy a condo. She told me Farang cannot own land, but she knew a way. A 30-year leasehold. She explained the law perfectly. Section this, clause that. For a factory girl, she knew a lot about property law. I was drunk when she explained it. It sounded smart. I put the money in her account. She would pay the landlord. The lease would be in my name. She was just the facilitator. I felt like a genius. I was beating the system. I was securing my future. The celebration was her idea. A trip to Koh Larn, an island just off the coast of Pattaya. We would take a speedboat. We would eat seafood on the beach. We would celebrate our new home. We took the boat from Bali High Pier. The engine roared. The boat slammed into the waves. My spine rattled with every impact. Boss laughed. She held her hat. She looked free. We arrived at Tawayan Beach. It was crowded with day trippers, Chinese tour groups following flags, Indian families splashing in the shallows. We walked away from the crowd. We found a quiet spot near the rocks. We ordered a feast: prawns, crab, snapper, and whiskey, a bottle of Black Label. I poured. I drank. The sun was hot. The whiskey was warm. The world started to blur around the edges. I felt invincible. I looked at Boss. She was peeling a prawn with those rough hands. "You happy?" I asked. "Very happy," she said. "You good man, Joseph." She poured me another glass. "A double." "We need signed papers," she said. "For lawyer. He messaged me now." She pulled a document from her bag. It was the lease agreement, or so I thought. The text swam before my eyes. I saw my name. I saw numbers. "Sign here," she pointed, "and here." I laughed. I uncapped my pen. I signed with a flourish. Joseph the landowner. Joseph the King of Siam. She took the papers. She put them in a plastic folder. She put the folder in her waterproof bag. "Now we swim," she said. I stripped down to my shorts. I ran into the water. It was cool and salty. I floated on my back. I looked at the blue sky. I closed my eyes. I drifted. I must have fallen asleep in the water, or maybe passed out on the sand. I remember crawling back to the beach chair. The sun was beating down on my face. My head was spinning. I woke up because of the cold. The sun was gone. The beach was in shadow. The umbrella above me was flapping in the wind. I sat up. Bile rose in my throat. My head felt like it had been split with an axe. "Boss?" I croaked. The chair next to me was empty. I looked around. The beach was deserted. The tour groups were gone. The vendors were packing up their stalls. I reached for my bag. It was gone. My wallet, my phone, my passport, the whiskey bottle. Panic hit me like a cold wave. I stood up and fell down again. My legs were jelly. I ran to the nearest vendor, a woman selling coconuts. "Where's the girl?" I shouted. "Where's the boat?" She looked at me with tired eyes. She pointed to the sea. "Boat go," she said. "Last boat go 1 hour." "But my girlfriend," I said. "She has my bag." The woman laughed. It was a dry, dusty sound. "She go too," she said, "with Thai man, on speedboat." A Thai man. The cousin, the lawyer, the boyfriend. It didn't matter. I was stranded. I was on an island with no money, no phone, no way to call for help. And somewhere in Pattaya, Boss was withdrawing my life savings. She was using the signed papers to transfer the lease. Or maybe she just took the cash and ran. They played me like a fool. I walked away from the vendor. I walked toward the cliffs. I needed to see if the mainland was still there, if reality still existed. I stood on the edge. The wind cooled my burning face. I could jump. I could end it now. Let the rocks take what was left. But then a thought clawed its way through the alcohol fog. A cold, sharp thought. If I jumped, she won. She got the money and the freedom. She got her degree and her manager job. I hated her more than I hated myself. And hate is a powerful fuel. I stepped back from the edge. I turned around. I faced the darkening island. I had to survive the night. I had to get back to the mainland. And then I had to find her. Night on Koh Larn was not a tropical dream. It was a cold, biting reality. I slept curled up under a lifeguard tower. The sand was full of fleas. My throat felt like I had swallowed broken glass. I shook from the withdrawal. The whiskey had left my system, leaving only the paranoia and the rage. I listened to the stray dogs fighting over scraps in the darkness. I was one of them now. A scavenger. Morning came with a brutal white light. I walked to the pier. I had to beg. Me, Joseph, a man who used to wear Italian suits. I found a supply boat captain loading crates of ice. I pointed to the mainland. I showed him my empty pockets. I offered him my watch. It was a fake Rolex I bought in the market, but he didn't know that. He nodded and spat red beetle nut juice on the wood. He gestured for me to sit on a crate of frozen squid. The ride back was slow. The smell of melting ice and dead cephalopods made my stomach roll. I watched the Pattaya skyline grow larger. The condo towers, the hotels, the monuments to foreign money. Somewhere in that concrete jungle, Boss was waking up in a soft bed, probably checking her bank balance. I landed at Bali High Pier and walked. I walked all the way to Yomtien. My feet blistered in my expensive sandals. The sun hammered my neck. I went to the bar where we used to drink, the Happy Place. I thought maybe the owner would help me. I'd spent thousands there. I was a VIP. I walked in. The air conditioning hit me like a physical blow. The bar was empty except for a few afternoon drunks. The owner, a fat British guy named Dave, looked up. "Joseph," he said, "you look like shit, mate." I told him the story, or a version of it. I said I was robbed. I didn't say I was scammed by a factory girl. My ego wouldn't allow it. I asked for a beer, on the slate, just one to steady the hands. He gave me one, then another. The alcohol hit my empty bloodstream like rocket fuel. The liquid courage came back, but it was curdled now. It was liquid hate. I started shouting. I told Dave he ran a dump. I told the Thai waitress she was a thief like the rest of them. I knocked a glass off the counter. It shattered. "That's enough," Dave said. He signaled the door. 2 security guards in tight black shirts materialized. They didn't ask nicely. They grabbed my arms. I struggled. I swung a fist that hit nothing but air. They dragged me out. My heels scraped the floor. I was screaming about leaseholds and lawsuits. They threw me onto the sidewalk. I landed hard on my shoulder. The dust puffed up around me. I heard the laughter of tourists passing by. A Russian couple pointed and giggled. I lay there in the dirt, bruised, humiliated. A drunk Farang in the gutter. This was the bottom. This was where most men stayed. They went home. They wrote angry posts on forums. They drank themselves to death. But as I stared at the neon sign of the bar flickering in the twilight, I remembered something. The brochure. The fake university. Boss didn't just want money. Money was easy. She wanted status. She wanted to walk into that factory in Rayong and slap a diploma on the manager's desk. She wanted to be Kun boss. She wanted respect, and I knew exactly where she was getting it. The brochure had a date, today, a consultation day, at a booth in the Yomtien night market. It was a recruitment drive for the degree mill. Boss wouldn't miss it. She was punctual. She was driven. I stood up. I dusted off my clothes. I spat blood on the pavement. I didn't need a drink anymore. I needed a target. I walked to the market. It was coming alive. The same smells as the night we met. Squid, crepes, drain water. The noise was deafening. I moved through the crowd like a shark. I checked every booth, clothes, phone cases, fruit soap. Then I saw it. A tent with a banner. Bangkok International Skills Academy. A table with glossy flyers. A man in a cheap suit sitting behind a laptop. And there she was. She was wearing a white blouse and a black skirt. She looked professional. She held a thick envelope in her hand. My money. The cash she withdrew or the lease money she diverted. She was smiling. A genuine smile. She was buying her new life. I stepped into the light of the booth. "Hello, boss," I said. She froze. The smile didn't drop. It shattered. She looked at me like she was seeing a ghost. A dirty, sunburned, bruised ghost. "Joseph," she whispered. The man in the suit looked up. "You know this man." I didn't scream. I didn't grab her. I used the hammer. "I know her," I said to the man. "And I know you. You sell fake degrees." The man's eyes went wide. He started to close his laptop. "She works at the Rayong aircon factory," I continued. My voice was calm, level, deadly. "She stole this money from me. A police report has been filed. If you take that envelope, you are receiving stolen goods, complicity in theft. 5 years in jail." It was a lie. I hadn't filed anything. I couldn't. But they didn't know that. Fear is the best currency in Thailand. The man looked at the envelope in Boss's hand. It looked like a bomb now. "Go away," the man hissed at Boss. "No business. Go." "But I pay," Boss stammered. "I pay full price." "Go," the man shouted. He didn't want the heat. He didn't want a crazy Farang bringing the police to his illegal operation. Boss turned to me. Her face twisted. The mask of the professional dropped. The factory girl came out. The girl who fought for scraps. "You ruin everything," she screamed. "You old drunk, you give me nothing." "I gave you everything," I said, "and you threw it away for a piece of paper." People were watching. The vendors, the tourists. Phones were out. Recording. "Give me the money," I said. She clutched the envelope to her chest. "No, my money, my future." "There is no future," I said. "I go to your factory tomorrow. I speak to your manager. I tell him about the theft. I tell him about the drug cousin. I tell him everything." Her eyes widened. That was the real threat. The loss of face. The loss of the job she already had. The shame in the village. She looked at the envelope. She looked at me. She looked at the crowd. She threw the envelope at my feet. It hit the dust with a heavy thud. "Take it," she spat. "Take it and die, Farang Buffalo." She turned and ran. She pushed through the crowd. She disappeared into the darkness of the Soi. She ran back to Rayong, back to the 12-hour shifts, back to the noise and the heat and the grease. I looked at the envelope. I picked it up. It was heavy. I opened it. Thick stacks of 1,000 baht notes. Not all of what she took, but enough. Enough to buy a ticket home. Enough to pay Dave his bar tab. The man in the suit was packing up his booth. He wanted to be gone before the imaginary police arrived. I put the envelope in my pocket. I walked out of the market. I walked past the bar where I was thrown out. I didn't go in. I walked to the beach. I sat on the sea wall. I looked out at the black water. I was still Joseph. I was still divorced. I was still alone. But I wasn't a victim. Not tonight. I took out a single 1,000 baht note. I let it go in the wind. An offering to the spirits of the place, to the ghosts of the men who didn't make it back from the island. I watched it flutter away into the dark. Then I stood up and hailed a taxi to the airport. Cold revenge is the only dish worth eating in this heat.